Hey, so I'm going to share with you what I bring for a kitchen bike packing for me when I'm solo and for when I'm traveling and cooking with one other person. Also going to share a bit on how I set up my kitchen for good leave no trace practices and risk management, and talk a little bit about cleaning and food storage. So over here on the left, I have my solo kitchen for when I'm cooking for myself. It's pretty simple. I have fuel and a stove. I carry either an isobutane single burner stove or an alcohol stove and alcohol depending on the trip. Generally in the US, I carry the isobutane because it's convenient and easy, and it's easy to find fuel. For really long trips where I have remote resupplies and it's harder to plan on isobutane, like internationally, I carry an alcohol stove. This little stove is an MSR Pocket Rocket. I really like it because it's small, very durable, and efficient. I would have in my kitchen a pot. This was just a 1-liter titanium pot with a lid. I would carry a windscreen to increase fuel efficiency. This is a windscreen from an MSR Whisperlight. You can also make a windscreen using tinfoil and some of that reflective fire and heat proof tape that would go on pipes and be used in plumbing. I have a lighter. I have soap or hand sanitizer for washing my hands before I cook. And I carry a knife and pot grips. And so this little tiny multi-tool serves as the knife and pot grips. Also serves as pliers for bike repair. But you can also get pot grips that are lightweight and made for backcountry kitchens. And then I have my water capacity, and if I'm traveling in bear habitat, I have about 50 feet of pea cord and my handlebar bag for hanging that bear hang. So to upgrade this a tiny bit, if I was planning on reheating and just like using instant food and I wanted to make the heat of from my fuel go longer, then I could bring this insulating koozie that I made using just like that insulative foil bubble wrap stuff that you also get at a hardware store. And then I've just taped it to have something that will keep my pot warm and let that hot water go farther. If you're newer to cleaning, you can bring a little rubber silicone spatula to really help scrape that food out of your pot. If you're really diligent and don't mind a scraping sound, your spoon will work, but this is a good tool to make sure you keep everything clean. And then you could further upgrade your kitchen with just some sort of really small, light cutting surface. Alternatively, in this setup, you could cut on your lid or you could cut on a plastic bag, but this gives you something to cut on and even something to serve kind of as a plate. So if I was to turn this into a 2-person kitchen, I would go with a bigger pot. This is a 1.5-liter pot. And I would add in some sort of vessel to eat out of, so that, in this scenario, I'm just eating out of my pot, and that way I only have to carry the pot, not the pot and a bowl. But if I'm sharing the pot with another person, I could bring a bowl that doubles as both a mug and a bowl. So this is a great option. I also like stainless steel 16-ounce cups or 12-ounce cups. And there are some fun little like snap and fold bowls that can be a cutting board and don't hold a rigid space of a bowl. So that is my backcountry kitchen when bike packing. So to set my kitchen up, I have chosen a flat and durable space. Also, if it's windy, somewhere out of the wind is ideal so that you're not battling the wind when you're cooking. Durable spots are basically anything that won't kill vegetation or pose additional risk for starting a forest fire or a wildfire. So that would be on dirt, gravel, pine duff that's brushed away, sand, just be careful to not get it in your gear and food, pavement, rocky, pebbly cobblestone surface, Those are all goods, just rock, like solid, slick rock. A picnic table. But I also want to position myself and have a spot in my kitchen where I can be sitting on the ground, elevated off the ground. So sitting elevated so that if the pot were to spill, I'm not getting boiling water pouring all over my lap and or under my feet or my butt. If I was cooking on a picnic table, I would want to stand at the picnic table rather than sit below the stove and pot. I'm wearing shoes when I'm cooking, and I am going to set up my stove somewhere that isn't directly underneath me, but more somewhere that I have to, within reach, but I reach for, so that if there's a flare up, then it's not catching me or my clothes or my hair on fire. So to set this up, I'm going to pull the lid off the stove. I store that in my stove case. I've undone my stove. I'm going to make sure that the knob is turned to off so that when I screw it in, there isn't fuel just spouting out. As I tighten this, there's a hiss, and that's a little bit of fuel leaking out as the seal to the fuel is broken, but then it will stop, so just keep turning. Again, I'm going to double check that that's off. Going to set it somewhere that is stable. Again, out of reach. The knob is within reach. I don't have to reach over the stove to turn the knob. Now I'm going to get my pot ready. I don't want to light my stove before I'm ready with anything to put on it, because I don't want to waste fuel or just have an open flame. Pour some water in. Make sure my pot grips are accessible. The lid is ready. Now I'm gonna turn this on and light it. You can not always see the flame, but you can hear that it's going, and if you look, there's like a little blue. And now I'm gonna put the pot on and put my lid on. Lids increase fuel efficiency by trapping the heat. Now I'm going to set up my windscreen, and now I'm going to stay here and wait and not leave my kitchen unattended. So when it comes time to add my food, I have my food ready. I'm going to take my pot grips. I'm going to grip the stove with my pot grips, and then I'm going to pour food in or stir so that I don't knock the pot over by just doing things to the stove without securing the stove. One thing to note when cooking with untreated water is that you want to bring your water to a boil before adding anything to it, whether it's food or drink mix or spices. First, you need to bring that water to a boil. If you don't want to bring it to a boil, then start with treated water so that you don't contract a waterborne illness through your cooking process. When you're done cooking and you are ready to serve, with a titanium pot, they will cool down really quickly, and you can just grab the pot, just like test it first, or using your pot grips, can grab the pot, serve yourself, enjoy your meal, and then when it's time to clean, you're just going to scrape everything super thoroughly, eat that food, or discard it into your own trash bag. At the point at which you want to add water to clean your bowl is thoroughly scraped, or your pot, whatever you're cleaning, and there are no food particles that will come off. You're really now just cleaning grease. And so for that, I'm going to boil just a tiny bit of water, like a couple tablespoons. Bring that to a boil. It's going to happen super fast. And then using boiling water to remove those food oils and to sterilize your pot, just add a couple tablespoons of that boiling water. I swivel, and then I swish with my hands. This should now just be gray water with no floating food particles. If there are food particles, you need to strain your water. If it's just gray water, you can scatter it away from your kitchen. So once I'm done cleaning, it's time to just break everything down and store your food for the night. It's a great practice to store your food and your pot or mug or bowl and your spoon on your bike in your frame bag away from where you're sleeping, or in a handlebar bag or something that you could clip to a tree to secure it. If you're bear camping, then it's time to secure all of your food and smellables and your pots and bowls and spoons into that bag and go and set up the bear hang. Maybe we'll do another video on that if you all want to learn more about bear hangs and bear camping. But in the meantime, this is what I bring for a bikepacking kitchen, how I set up my kitchen and manage the process, and how I clean and store afterwards.